Hello everyone. What we're going to work on in this video is, now that we've got our summary notes written over here, our blog that we read about the Missouri School District told to change the subject on Ferguson, is now we are going to then convert it to a paragraph, to a rough draft of a paragraph. And it's important that we recognize that it's a rough draft because there are many things when we're done, we cannot eliminate judgment from the writing process. And by the judgment, I mean when we look at something and say, we can tweak this, we can change this, I don't know if we need this sentence, we might need to add another sentence. And so we can't eliminate judgment from the writing process. So now that we have our notes, it's really easy then to convert our notes into a summary. And with this, so we have our topic sentence, our lead sentence. In the Edwardsville School District, teachers have been told to change the subject away from the shooting of Ferguson. Now with this, because we're doing this digitally, in fact, it's going to be hard. Actually, I'll go ahead and write it here. There we go. And when you do this, you're actually going to do it on the same document. Let's see here, assuming I can do this. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, there we go. Okay, so in the Edwardsville School District, actually I'm going to change this font's a little too big. So I'm going to change it down. That's a little... Okay, in the Edwardsville School District, teachers have been told to change the subject away from the shooting in Ferguson. And there we go. See, it's just, we're going right from there. Now, in the end, in the final draft, like I said before, I'm going to say it again, you're going to have to use your judgment when all is said and done, and then go figure out if you need to tweak it a bit. Say here, many parents are upset. That's what I have in the red over here, but I'm going to change it to, I'm going to say many parents are upset about this decision. And that's using judgment. I'm using judgment by specifying about this decision to saying what they're upset about. Okay, let me see if I can tweak this if I move that over just a little bit. Good. And so we have that there. And remember, our yellow is this topic requires sensitivity. You can say, and instead of this topic, as I think requires sensitivity, we'll look at that. I don't know. I'm going to change that to this topic. We're going to say this discussion of this event requires sensitivity. I think that that will clarify it a little bit. And once again, I'm using judgment. I'm using my own judgment to say, let's change this a little bit to make it a little easier. So that way it clarifies, it makes it easier for readers to know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's a key skill in writing. In writing, you have to use your judgment. There is no magic formula all the time. So then we have the next detail, the Ferguson event raises many relevant topics, including racism and oppression. And right here, discussion of this event requires sensitivity. Now, do you notice in this sentence right here, I mentioned the word event, and then I mention event again. We know what we're talking about. So I'm going to say it, because it's redundant to say the event. So it's clear, it is clear that we're referring to the event of Ferguson. So it raises many relevant topics, including racism and oppression. Many local, and right now I'm copying the next red line, superintendents met to discuss the issue. They advocated sensitivity, but not silence. Okay, So I've got that. I'm going to change this one right here. They met to discuss it. I'm going to say recently. I'm going to add the word in recently to specify that they met recently, shortly thereafter. Okay, so we've got there. We added the word recently to specify that this is something that happened recently, to add that key detail. Now we can go on to our yellow, our next subtopic. Students want to discuss it in class. Now I know that we're talking about it. I'm going to say right here, instead of it though, because we don't want to say it repeatedly, I'm going to change it to the shooting. Students want to discuss the shooting in class. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next red. Edwardsville superintendent calls, and now I'm going to calls the event the most divisive in his career. And with this, because we already did the shooting mentioned in this case, the previous sentence said the shooting. So I'm going to, instead of saying the event, I'm going to say it. See, notice the last sentence I wanted to get away from it. This sentence I want to go back to it. It's important when writing to use your judgment. And I will say here, he doesn't want personal opinions voiced. And I'm going to clarify voiced. I'm going to clarify in the classroom. And I'm going to say here, I'm going to add the word, we know we have the next one. Students, Edwardsville students want to discuss we'll go with it for now. I'm going to add right here, we're going from he doesn't want personal opinions voiced in the classroom, and then Edwardsville students want to discuss it. I'm going to throw in the word however. And I'm going to say, instead of Edwardsville, I'm going to say, however, students in the district, rather than repeat Edwardsville right there and then Edwardsville again. However, students in the district want to discuss, and instead of it, I'm going to say this newsworthy event. Newsworthy can be a good or a bad thing. In this case, obviously, it's a bad thing. But I'm going to leave it there for now. I don't know if I'm too happy with newsworthy, but remember, this is a rough draft. I can always change it later. And let's say here, I'm going to say here, we have teacher led a discussion and presented, because instead of had down here, I notice I'm right here, had two different viewpoints, and presented two different viewpoints on the event, representing the police and the residents. Okay, and right here, notice right here, we should never just say teacher, because that's not a person's name. We will say one teacher. One teacher, and we're in the district, so we'll say one Edwardsville teacher led a discussion and presented two different viewpoints on the event, representing the police and the parents. And in my notes, I didn't, if you recall, he was told not to do that, but I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to throw in the detail, but he was told not to do, I'm going to say he was told to refrain from doing so again. And going on to the next yellow, many feel that this is important to discuss. Now, if you remember, I remember from the post. Now, notice I'm not even, when you're writing this, if you can't remember a certain detail, it's okay to go back to the original source. I remember it. It's still fresh in my memory right here. So many feel that this is important to discuss. I'm going to say that many local residents feel that this is important to discuss. And going on to the next line, Edwardsville parents are upset. Some feel that it can be discussed objectively. And lastly, the superintendent favors discussing current events, but not with personal opinion. So notice, once you have your outline, it's really easy to write the summary. This is important to discuss. Edwardsville parents are upset. And I'm going to join these last two. Notice how we have Edwardsville parents are upset. Some feel they can be discussed objectively. That's a very easy way. I can put a comma and say and. Some feel that it can be discussed objectively. The superintendent favors discussing current events, but not with personal opinion. I don't know if I like the last sentence, but once again, this is a rough draft. So this is what I have so far. I'm probably going to tweak it some later, but this is the rough draft that we have here.